Welcome to the Oroville Chinese Temple and Museum. History and Highlights. Produced by Kenneth D. Chan, M.D. It is with great pleasure and happiness that in this land of Gold Mountain, a temple of much worship has been erected on the river. May the precious tripod bring good fortune. Dedicated to my great-grandparents, grandparents, parents, uncles, and aunts. 3 generations of the Qin family made the long trip from China to Oroville. As the Chinese population in the county declined, only a few were left to preserve their culture. The Qin family found itself in a position of influence and was instrumental in preserving things of historical importance. The Chinese temple was one of these. Had it not been for the efforts of the Qin family, this historic monument might have been lost. Oroville, California, home of the Oroville Chinese Temple and Museum. The Chinese temple faces the Feather River to the north. Oroville's great landmark, Table Mountain, looks down on the temple, the river, and the community. The Oroville Chinese Temple traces its roots back to the 1850s. Many Chinese immigrants arrived in San Francisco, traveled to Sacramento, and then came to Northern California, primarily to work in the gold mines, help with the building of the railroad, farm the land, perform domestic labor, and engage in multiple other occupations. By 1863, Northern California boasted a Chinese community of over 10,000. The Chinese community was very vibrant and active in the Oroville area. Their presence led to the creation of communities commonly called Chinatowns. These enclaves were segregated and considered an exotic curiosity by mainstream America. They had their own form of self-government organized under the leadership of merchants' guilds and district associations. They also built their own temples to help take care of their religious, spiritual, and cultural needs. The current Oroville Chinese Temple was built in 1863 with funds from Qing Dynasty Emperor Tunji of China. There were 2 previous Chinese temples built of wood in the 1850s, both of which were destroyed by fires. In 1863, the Chinese temple was reconstructed with bricks brought in from nearby Palermo. Construction work was done by local residents of Oroville. Furnishings from the emperor and others were shipped from Hong Kong and China. Upon completion, Emperor Tunji sent 2 priests from his imperial court to dedicate the temple. The Chinese temple eventually included 3 chapels, one for each of the major ways of life in China: Taoism, Buddhism, and Confucianism ancestor worship. It also included a council room for conducting community business. In 1907, a major flood decimated the Chinese community. The temple building was 5 feet deep in water. The flood resulted in most of the Chinese leaving Oroville. Some Chinese returned to China while others moved to Sacramento or San Francisco. The Chan family was one of the few families to stay in Oroville and assumed responsibility for the temple, which continued to be a house of worship. They stored many of the temple tapestries and artifacts for safekeeping until they could be properly displayed. They even paid the property taxes for the temple. In 1935, the temple was deeded to the city of Oroville by the remaining Chinese families, with 3 stipulations guaranteed for their donation. 1. The city would build a museum to house artifacts that the former temple did not have room to display. 2. The temple would remain available to the community to use for worship. 3. Temple volunteers would be taught about Chinese culture, beliefs, and artifacts to help visitors better understand and appreciate their visit to the temple and museum. The temple was extensively restored and renovated, due to the diligent efforts of the Oroville Women's Community Club. The newly renovated Oroville Chinese Temple and Museum was rededicated and opened to visitors at the time of the California Centennial in 1949. The city of Oroville has continued to make improvements and maintain the temple and museum since that time. There was a major renovation in 1968 which saw the addition of the Tapestry Hall, Display Hall, Courtyard, Chinese Gardens, and Chan Pavilion. The Kali Room was added in 1976, and the Fong Li Building was added in 2008. The Oroville Chinese Temple remains open to the public as a museum and occasional place of worship. It serves as an elegant and important reminder of the multitude of contributions made by Chinese Americans in the building of this great nation. The Oroville Chinese Community. Oroville's rich history. During the gold rush days, a well-educated and hard-working people came from China to California seeking gold. When mining declined, Chinese miners created a small Chinatown in Oroville of simple frame huts and tiny abundant gardens. Language barriers, prejudice and immigration laws made life difficult for many in the Chinese community. Two of the largest Chinese communities in Butte County were in Oroville, known as Upper Chinatown, population 2,000, and a mining town just south of Oroville called the Lava Beds, known as Lower Chinatown, population 8,000. Prior to 1855, there was not yet a distinct Chinatown in Oroville, but there was a small Chinese community nearby. This map of Oroville from 1860 was the first map to show the Chinatown area. This is an 1872 map of Oroville showing Chinatown, with houses on Broderick Street lining the banks of the Feather River. This is Oroville Chinatown 1909. A levee has been added due to the Great Flood of 1907. Brick houses are colored in red. This is Oroville Chinatown 1926. Most of the buildings along Broderick Street have disappeared, as most of the Chinese population left Oroville after the Great Flood. As of 2022, only 5 brick houses remain from the old Chinatown, including the Chinese Temple and the Fong Li Building. Oroville Chinatown and Chinese parades. During and after the Gold Rush era, Oroville's Chinese community built residential and commercial areas along the Feather River. Their traditional parades along the streets of Oroville attracted many viewers. Chinese worker housing. Most Chinese workers lived in very simple wooden shacks or huts. This is a photo of a bomb festival in Oroville Chinatown prior to the Great Flood. These are photos of Chinese parades in Oroville Chinatown. This is a photo of Oroville, Chinatown 1910, looking out towards Broderick Street from a viewpoint near the Fong Li building. Built in the spring of 1863, the Chinese temple served the religious needs of Oroville's Chinese community members. The flood of 1907 devastated the Chinese community, forcing most to leave Oroville. The Chinese temple suffered from neglect, until community members restored the historic monument, which is listed on the National Register of Historic Places and California Landmarks. Today, visitors are welcome to visit the 3 separate chapels, artwork treasures, and gardens with plantings originating from China. This is an 1825 photo of an altar table from the Chinese Joss House, a forerunner to the Chinese temple. These are gods of war figures from the Chinese Joss House. This is the Chinese temple in 1905. This is the Chinese temple altar prior to the flood of 1907. Here are photos of the Chinese temple through the years. The Chinese temple underwent a major renovation and expansion project in 1968. These are photos from that period. The Oroville Chinese Temple and Museum, after the 1968 renovation and expansion. The Oroville Chinese Temple was registered as California Historical Landmark number 770 on June 20, 1962, and listed on the National Register on July 30, 1976. This is the floor plan for the Chinese temple. There are 10 main areas to the temple and museum. 1. The main temple. 2. The Moon Temple. 3. The council room. 4. The Chinese workers' hut. 5. The tapestry hall. 6. The display hall. 7. The Cully room. 8. The courtyard and garden. 9. The Chan room. And 10. The Fong Li building. Here are the floor plans for the 3 chapels: the main temple, the Chan room, and the Moon temple. Here are photos of the Chinese temple and museum from after the 1968 renovation and expansion. The Chan Room, or Chin Sui Sing Bok Temple, on the left, was a private chapel for the Chan family, and used for ancestor veneration. The main temple, or Li Chung Kong Temple, better known as the Temple of Many Gods, on the right, was used for worship of Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. The main temple, Li Chung Kong, is in the center. The Chan Temple, Chin Sui Sing Bok, is to the far left. The museum office is to the far right. The red courtyard and garden gate contains the Chinese symbol for longevity in the center, and the Chinese character for longevity in each corner. The iron tripod incense burner. The massive cast iron tripod incense urn, located in front of the main temple, was used for burning incense, candles, paper money, and other ritual materials. The tripod urn bears the inscription, "May the precious tripod bring good fortune." The cast iron tripod weighed 2 tons and was made in Foshan, China in 1875. The tripod was a gift from the Wang family and 12 other clans from Oroville. The main temple, or Li Chung Kong, better known as the Temple of Many Gods. The inscription board above the main temple entrance reads, "Temple of Many Gods." The temple was a place of prayer for various beliefs including Buddhism, Taoism, and Confucianism. The inscription boards on the sides of the entrance reads, "It is with great pleasure and happiness that in this land of Gold Mountain, a temple of much worship has been erected on the river." These are the steps for paying respects at the Chinese temple. 1. Enter temple. 2. Wash your hands in the basin. 3. Strike the gong 3 times in order to summon the gods. 4. Step over the raised threshold to enter the temple. Evil spirits have no knee joints and cannot step over the threshold to enter. Note that the temple has no windows by which evil spirits can enter. 5. Approach the altar. Light incense. Bow 3 times to pay respects and honor your ancestors and deities. Fortune telling at the Chinese temple. 1. Visitors seeking to have their fortunes told at the temple would use Chinese fortune-telling sticks. The visitor would take the fortune canister and shake the fortune canister until a fortune stick fell out. 2. A temple worker would then locate the fortune sheet corresponding to the stick. Auspicious fortune sheets were taken to the large tripod incense burner, located outside in front of the temple, for burning in order to send the message to the gods. Inauspicious fortunes were destroyed. 3. Desirable fortune sheets were burned in the large temple tripod urn to deliver the message to the gods for fulfillment. Undesirable fortunes were quickly disposed of. The main temple altar. These are photos of the main temple altar. Here are the gods of the temple. Wato, the god of medicine and health. Quan Gung, the god of literature, protection, courage, war, and justice. Tin Hao, the empress of heaven and goddess of the sea. Main temple artifacts. The blue inscription board, from 1863, is the oldest artifact in the Oroville Temple, and second oldest known artifact made for and used by Chinese Americans. These colorful inscription boards are prayer and thank you plaques, donated to the temple by hopeful or grateful worshippers. There are over 40 of these beautifully carved and painted wooden plaques adorning the temple. The council room. The Chinese in Oroville were permitted to govern their own affairs. The council room served as the civic center of Chinatown, and was the place where banking, burial arrangements, and other important business matters of the Chinese community took place, and where rules for the community and discipline were established. Illiterate Chinese workers could come here and have letters written for them. This is the Ship of Life, a detailed wood carving covered in gold leaf recovered from the burned-down old Chinese theater. These are two beautifully gilded portable shrines carried in parades. The Moon Temple. The Moon Temple, also known as the 10,000 Buddha Hall, was the Wang family temple, and used for Buddhist worship. The unique moon-shaped door, which gives the temple its name, symbolizes the circle of life. This is the Moon Temple Buddha. The Tapestry Hall. The Tapestry Hall was built in 1968 to house the larger items in the temple collection. Many of the tapestries were gifts to the Chinese temple from various families and individuals. Some of the tapestries served as billboards for the Chinese theater group. Since much of the public was illiterate, illustrations were used to depict the shows that were currently being performed. The tapestries in this hall, along with the large bronze urn and oxblood vase, were kept by the Chan family for safekeeping after the 1907 flood severely damaged the Chinese temple. The Chans cared for these treasures until the temple and museum were able to build a modern facility to safely house the tapestries and urns, and display them to the public in 1968. The door gods, protectors of the temple. The legend of the door gods. During the Tang dynasty, 618 to 907, Emperor Taizong of Tang spent years fighting military campaigns and even killed his older brother in his bid to ascend the throne. After becoming emperor, he often heard spirits haunting the palace at night. According to legend, he ordered 2 generals, Yu Qijing and Qin Shubao, to stand guard outside, so he could sleep undisturbed. The strategy was successful and the haunting ceased. Eventually realizing that having 2 generals stay up all night was impractical, the emperor ordered that their portraits be painted on the palace gates to ward off evil spirits. This strategy also worked and the practice spread. Soon the generals began to appear in images that people pasted on doors everywhere. On them, Qin is portrayed with a white face and Yuqi's face is dark, and the pair is presented as imposing figures dressed in full armor. This depiction of door gods is among the most popular today. Door gods always come in pairs, primarily since the traditional design of doors in China has 2 panels and requires a deity on each side to form a symmetrical composition, 2 figures matched both in pose and status and facing each other. Besides the traditional pairing of Qin Shubao and Yu Qijing, many other figures taken from history, novels, and elsewhere can also be found outside doors. Door gods Yu Qijing, left, and Qin Shubao, right. A Li Shengkong Temple banner. Another Li Shengkong Temple banner. This is a reproduction of a Ming Dynasty bronze incense burner. There is an eagle on top, dragons around the middle, and a dragon around the base. This is a Qing Dynasty imperial flag used during parades. This is the Chan family parade banner. On the left is a Qing Dynasty imperial dragon column rug. On the right is another Qing Dynasty imperial dragon rug. Note that only imperial dragons have 5 toes. Here is a highly decorated carousel carried during parades. These are shadow puppets, made from donkey hides, used by the Chinese theater for puppet shows. The display hall. The display hall was built in 1968 to house smaller items in the temple collection. The room displays many original items from Oroville. The hall also displays more recent gifts to the temple museum. These are garments and various items donated by Chinese missionaries. They were shipped back to the US to prevent them from being taken by the Japanese during World War II. This is a heavy brass dragon halberd, meant to be mounted on a long pole, which was used as a theatrical prop and also for use during parades. These are Chinese puppets used by the Chinese theater. The Cully Room. The Cully Room is a gift from Mrs. Charlotte Cully. The room was added in 1976 to celebrate America's bicentennial. The room is dedicated to the garment collections of Chinese missionaries Mrs. Mabel Clay and Mrs. Jessie May Henke. The collection highlights the differences between Western clothing and Chinese attire from the period 1840 to 1940. These are Chinese wedding gowns contrasted with a typical Western wedding gown. This is a Chinese wedding gown and headdress. Here are more examples of Chinese compared with Western attire. The Chin Sui Sing Bok Temple, also known as the Chan Room. The Chin Sui Sing Bok Temple was founded in 1874 by Chin Kong Yu, better known as Fong Li, one of the leaders of the Chinese community in Oroville. The temple was built in honor of Chan grand ancestor Chin Sui Sing Bok, as a place of ancestral family worship for the Chan family. The temple was also used by families other than the Chan family. The temple was used to honor the Confucian principle of reverence of ancestors, as Confucius taught that all human relationships depend upon the maintenance of family. The original structure built in 1874 was a wooden room adjacent to the main temple. The 1874 structure was destroyed in the flood of 1907 and replaced with the current brick building. Chin Sui Sing Bok, whose birth name was Chin Jung Jin, is the most important of the Chan clan grand ancestors. Chin Sui Sing Bok is regarded as the progenitor of the Wang Chun village branch of the Chan family. There are currently 28 generations of his descendants in the Chan lineage, including 6 generations of his descendants in America. Chin Sui Sing Bok, known prior to 1850 by his birth name of Chin Jung Jin, was the first Chan ancestor to settle in the Chan ancestral village of Wang Chun in Taishan County. He lived in Wang Chun village with his 3 wives and his 2 sons, Chin He Yu and Chin He Sing. He and his second son, Chin He Sing, later moved to Shui Nan village. His first son, Chin He Yu, stayed in the Chan ancestral village of Wang Chun. The Chan lineage descends through first son Chin He Yu. Chin Jung Jin was commissioned as a military officer in Taishan County. His exact rank is uncertain, but probably equivalent to a captain or colonel. He was placed in charge of a regiment to rid the area of bandits, thieves, and pirates who plagued the region. He received recognition for his bravery and leadership skills in battle. He was revered by the common people for his noble morals, loyalty, and courage, and became a folk hero. He was given the nicknames Chan Lao Guan, or Grand Old Official Chan, and Wan Ren Di, or Conqueror of 10,000 Enemies, by his supporters for his exploits. At a banquet on the eve of an anticipated great victory over the notorious bandit, Li Menglong, Chin Jung Jin and his 2 sons, who fought with him, were poisoned by a traitor in his camp who was bribed by the bandits to poison his chicken and wine. Chin Jung Jin and his sons died, and were honored as heroes for sacrificing their lives for the good of the people. After his death, the populace believed that Chin Jung Jin's heroic spirit continued to protect them. Many amazing miracles were attributed to his spirit. According to legend, Chin Jung Jin's spirit caused the bandits to quarrel and fight among themselves, which led to their final defeat. According to other legends, every time there was a plague in the countryside, the villagers would pray to Qin Zheng Jin's spirit, and the plague would subside. In his earthly life, Qin Zheng Jin was honored as a folk hero for his bravery and the virtuous life he led. After his death, he was worshipped as a local deity as the god of protection and epidemic control, for his healing powers, and as a protector of the people. Many temples were subsequently built in southern Guangdong province in his honor, including temples in Taishan, Kaiping, Xinhui, Shunda, Zhongshan, Hong Kong, Macau, and other places. He was worshipped both by Chan clan family members and non-clan members alike. 600 years after Qin Zheng Jin's death, during the reign of Emperor Dao Guang in the Qing dynasty, there was a devastating epidemic in Beijing, with a horrendous death toll, and no end in sight. An imperial advisor named Quang Jixiang suggested to Emperor Dao Guang that they pray to a certain Chan ancestor in Taishan named Qin Zheng Jin, who supposedly possessed great healing powers, and might be able to control the epidemic, since he had earned a reputation as a local god of epidemic control. The emperor agreed to the recommendation and Qin Zheng Jin's image and spirit were brought to Beijing. Miraculously, 3 days after Qin Zheng Jin's spirit was invoked, the epidemic subsided. Emperor Dao Guang decreed that Qin Zheng Jin's heroic spirit should be rewarded, and thereafter designated as Qin Sui Sing Bak, the Viscount of Pacification, to suppress the invaders, protect the country, protect the people, and pacify the people. Qin Sui Sing Bak's title of Bak, or Bo in Mandarin, has been variously translated as Duke, Marquis, Count, Viscount, and even Uncle. In Chinese peerage, a Bak or Bo is officially equivalent to a Count, but he is most often referred to as a Viscount. By imperial decree, all temples honoring Qin Zheng Jin were renamed Qin Sui Sing Bak temples. Qin Sui Sing Bak's descendants from Shuinan village, Taishan County, accepted the imperial honor on his behalf, and the Chan family was honored as descendants of a nobleman, and entitled to display his flag and banner with his noble title. The Chan temple in Oroville is named in honor of ancestor/deity, Qin Sui Sing Bak, the Viscount of Pacification. This is the Qin Sui Sing Bak Chan clan family tree, as of 2023. There are 153 generations of the Chan clan in total. This includes 125 generations of ancestors of Qin Sui Sing Bak in China, enclosed in blue, 22 generations of descendants of Qin Sui Sing Bak in China, enclosed in green, and 6 generations of descendants of Qin Sui Sing Bak and great-grandfather Qin Kong Yu in America, enclosed in yellow. The Chan Room. This chapel for ancestral family worship was built in 1874 for use of the Chan family. Filial piety, according to the teachings of Confucius, is the very foundation of society. Other virtues sought are benevolence, justice, propriety, intelligence, and fidelity. Noteworthy objects displayed in the Chan Room are the central altar figure of Chan ancestor Qin Sui Sing Bak, birth name Qin Zheng Jin, signifying the Confucian virtue of ancestor worship and filial piety. A bridal sedan chair. A large banner bearing the Chan clan symbol. And boards on the side walls, which recorded donations of all Chinese to this temple. Here are more photos of the Chan Room and Qin Sui Sing Bak temple and the artifacts contained within. This is the Qin Sui Sing Bak altar. This is a figure of Qin Sui Sing Bak, wearing his official's robe, along with 2 altar tablets. This is a traditional Chinese marriage sedan chair. It was repurposed to carry altar figures during parades. This is a plaque with the inscription, "Brightness in all directions," donated by the Chan family to the temple in 1876. Registration and donation boards. Typically, when there was a marriage, or when a male child was born, a donation was made to the temple, and the appropriate name was added to the board. Uncle Gain Chan was probably one of the last ones to be registered. This is the Chan family flag. It was created in 1894 and is displayed in the Chan room. The inscription translates as, "Imperially bestowed, Chin Sui Sing Bak, Viscount of Pacification." This is the Chan family parade banner. It was created in 1895, and is displayed in the Tapestry Hall. This is a gilded parade altar, created in 1904, in honor of Chin Sui Sing Bak. It is displayed in the council room. The Fong Li Building. The Fong Li Building is a reproduction of the Fong Li Company storefront. It was donated by the Chan family, in honor of Chin Kong Yu and Chin Shou Ting, and dedicated in 2008. The room is outfitted with all of the original cabinets, cases, herbal drawers, light fixtures, and artifacts from the Fong Li Company medicinal herb and gold trading store. It is representative of early to mid-20th century life in Oroville, California. The room also contains family altars, the Chan family genealogy tree, and other Chan family memorabilia. Chin Kong Yu was the first of the Chan family to come to America. He was better known as Fong Li, the name of his store. He was a native of Taishan, China, and came to America in 1868. He lived in Truckee in the lava beds before moving to Oroville. He was one of the leaders of Oroville's Chinese community and founded the Chan Temple in 1874. He believed in fostering good relations between Eastern and Western cultures. Chin Kong Yu was an entrepreneur extraordinaire. His many enterprises included a general merchandise store, buying and selling gold, an herbal medicine store, serving as an unofficial post office and bank, labor contractor and employment agency, fruit orchards and vegetable gardens, buying and selling livestock, multiple rental properties, and tax collector for the Emperor of China. His sons, Chin Sing Ting and Chin Shou Ting, took over operations of the Fong Li Company after Chin Kong Yu's death. Chin Shou Ting was born in China in 1885. His birth name and legal name was Chin Wing He. He was given the generational name of Chin Shou Ting as an adult. He was the third son of Chin Kong Yu, also known as Fong Li. He came to America in 1907, and took over operations of the Fong Li Company. Chin Shou Ting continued to promote goodwill and friendship with the Western population. He served as guardian of the Oroville Chinese Temple, and keeper of its tapestries and artifacts for many years. He was a major believer in higher education, and all 6 of his children were university graduates, a remarkable achievement for that time period. The inscription over the front door of the Fong Li building reads, Chin Shou Ting Ancestral Home. The name Fong Li in Chinese translates as Grand Prophet Store. Store counter and herbal medicine cabinet. Herbal medicine cabinet and drawer with herbs. Cash register, check printer, and adding machine. Gold weighing scale. Wall-mounted clock from 1924. Fong Li Company safe. School desk, chairs, and blackboard. Chan family ancestral altars, honoring Qin Kong Yu, Qin Shou Ting, and others. Ma Kim-oi Memorial. Wing Fi Chen Memorial. The Chin Sui Sing Bok family tree. Genealogy document from Chan family ancestral village of Wangchun, in Taishan County, China. 27 generations of Chans displayed. "27 generations of the Chan family." Timeline of Chinese dynasties in history. Displayed in the Fong Li building. Newspaper articles regarding Qin Kong Yu, also known as Fong Li. Photographs on display in the Fong Li room. Fong Li's Grand Feast, 1895. Qin Kong Yu, better known as Fong Li, hosted a grand banquet given to 25 to 30 of Oroville and Northern California's leading citizens, in order to foster better relations between the Chinese and Western communities. Qin Shou Ting and Ma Kim-oi. The Qin Shou Ting family. The old Fong Li building, the new Fong Li building, and the Chan family temple in Shuinam, China. The Chinese temple courtyard and Chinese garden. The courtyard and garden gate. The red gate contains the Chinese symbol for longevity in the center, and the Chinese character for longevity in each of the four corners. The temple garden and courtyard were built by the city of Oroville as a Chinese garden, to enjoy peace, reflection, and tranquility in pleasant surroundings. The courtyard includes a small reflecting pond. The pavilion in the back is a gift from the Chan family in memory of Qin Wing He, also known as Qin Shou Ting, and Ma Kim-oi. The courtyard, pavilion, and pool were designed by architect Mr. Philip Choi of San Francisco. The courtyard patio brickwork is laid out in a traditional benevolent cloud pattern. With few exceptions, all of the plants and trees are of Chinese origin, including a lace-bark pine symbolizing strength, bamboo signifying hardiness and longevity, and a large pomelo tree, which bears the large, thick-skinned, grapefruit-like fruit used during Chinese New Year. Mrs. Margaret Brown of San Francisco was the planting consultant. The Chan Pavilion is a gift from the Chan family in memory of Chin Wing Hee, also known as Chin Shou Ting, and Mar Kim Oi. The Gold Miner's Hut. The Gold Miner's Hut is a replica of a typical Chinese gold miner's dwelling from the 1860s. It is constructed using materials from a local barn built in the same period. Oroville Chinese Temple Celebrations. Photo from the 1949 restoration and rededication. Photos from the 1968 dedication celebrating the temple restoration, and additions of the stairway to the Feather River, the Tapestry Hall, the Display Hall, the Courtyard and Chinese Garden, and the Chan Memorial Pavilion. Photos from the 1976 Chinese Temple Evening Gala, celebrating the Cully Room edition, during America's bicentennial. Photos from the 2008 dedication of the Fong Li Building. The Oroville Chinese Temple and Museum, History and Highlights. The end.